no, you are top shelf. Like you have a standard. You have a high standard, and don't ever settle for bottom shelf. That's what he meant. And so he definitely taught me the same as you were saying. Integrity for sure was a big one. So keeping your word. I remember previous men in my mom's life, they would, and I would hate this so much, they would promise my younger siblings, especially the boys, that he would, there was one in particular, he would promise them like, oh, I'm gonna take you guys fishing this weekend, or I'm gonna take you guys canoeing, or we live right by a lake, like literally 30 minutes north in Ojai. And so he's like, oh, I'm gonna take you guys camping or to the lake. And he would never fulfill or like, actually come through with the plans. And so I got so mad, and I got in his face, and I was like, you fucking coward. Like, don't ever promise my brothers these things and you leave them hanging. And and they're little, they're young, so they get really excited. Anyway, so when my dad came around, the guy I do see as my father now, Royce, he was very spontaneous. And so he'd be like, we're just gonna go, like, pack some stuff, let's go, we're going to Mammoth, or we're going to Big Bear, or we're gonna go take the motorcycle and we're gonna go up north and just drive. And that I loved it so much. And so I really appreciated him for keeping his word, and the respect, regardless of the person, regardless of gender or sexuality, just the respect thing. He's like 70 something. So he grew up in that time where it was, prejudice is still, but definitely at the time it wasn't really common. And he grew up a little hippie dude. So, and just a gearhead. So he came across like all types of people. But one thing was integrity, keeping your word, respect. And I just love the way I see him, how he treats women. If anything, he treats them as like, and again, it's not to objectify like precious cargo, because I would ride in the back of his motorcycle and he's like, don't worry, you're precious cargo. I'm not going to drop you. I'm not going to crash. But it's that same notion where, they're queens. You treat them with admiration, and you have such high respect towards women. So in that sense, I think that's one part of healthy masculinity, but then also owning it, owning that you tap into femininity as well. So it interweaves with each other. It doesn't have to be like, oh, I'm just all masculine and I'm just made of all of this, testosterone. It's like, no, you are men, or people who identify as men and are masculine, can have all types of different, we're beings, right? We're very complex. So it's not just one masculinity for like you is very different for a masculinity for a different man. So there's not one answer is my answer, I guess. What about you? What do you think?
Definitely. That's so funny, because when I think of like a healthy, like what I want out of a man, or what I think what a man is, I always think of my uncle. And my uncle's the one who was the father figure in my life. Not that like my dad wasn't, but I didn't grow up around my dad. I would only see him during the summers. And then there was a period of time that I didn't see him for a while, because I was a teenager and I was like, I just want to be with my friends during the summer. Mm-hmm. So I didn't want to go to Mexico. So my father figure since the day I was born is my uncle Joe. And I love him. I love him a lot. He's the one who really started. I think I've talked about him several times on this episode, where he taught me a lot about critical race theory and all that, and movements and stuff. Yes. And he's white himself, so But yeah, my uncle, when I just think he's like the perfect man in the world, because like he's just everything. He's an honest guy. He's really nice. He's really sweet, but he's a really good listener, and you can really have easy conversations with him. Mm. And he has respect. Like there's this level of respect that he has towards just everyone. Never have I ever heard him talk bad about anyone, unless it's like Republicans and stuff. So of course, but he just has this level of respect and honesty that I've never seen anyone else have. And I think that's a key part. So a man having a respect for himself, but also having respect for other people and other women, especially women. And I remember growing up, when I would want to play basketball or play football, he never ever mentioned that I couldn't do it or anything. He would say, like, you can do anything that you want in the world. Like, this dude made me think that I could be in the NFL, but I would never be the NFL, obviously. But, you know, growing up, he just made everything seem like it was so possible for me to reach, you know, despite, like, you know, that I was a woman or whatnot. And he would always try to find people, like women within history who have made it and stuff like that. So it's like, within my uncle's eyes, it's just like, I don't know, he's just very, to me, optimistic. And you know, growing up, it was just like, I don't know, I just love my uncle a lot, and he's just the kind of man that I would want to marry. Why am I gonna cry?
That is so sweet. That is so sweet. That reminds me when you were saying, because I want to add one last thing when it comes to, you're in such admiration, and there's moments where I do feel like that about my dad. He is white too, so there are also some, but without bashing him, because I do love him. When you say this admiration, I feel like, and I don't want to say that all men need to, but protection.
Yeah, protection.
When I can't even tell him, oh, I'm looking for this or I need this, because he'll get me 10 of it, right? So I don't tell him anymore. But one thing that man will do is he will handle his own. He will, and because we have this phrase called like mama bear, right? When mama bear, my dad does the same. Like, you don't fuck with his family, and it's not that he would cause harm towards you or he's a violent man. No, but like I said, he's a man of his word, and so, and he got it from his dad, who was very militant. You know, he served, and so, like World War II. So, just in that sense, where I'm like, wow, and it's not that it's just expected from a man. Of course, women be the same protectors and providers, but I will say it's very I just respect him even more because he is that way, and he knows, like, you don't mess with my family or anyone I love or care about. But that's real sweet.
No, yeah, like, that's definitely my uncle. Like, today my mom and my aunt made me cry. And the minute my uncle came home, I was like, my Tio and my mom made me cry. And then he was all like, why did you guys make her cry? Like, he was on it. Like, why'd y'all make my goddaughter cry? And so that's why I that's why I really love, I'm like the princess of the house, I guess. But he's always just like, he's always been very protective like that over me, even with my mom and my tia. But also, like, growing up too, he would always tell me, not always tell me, but now once I got a little bit older, and then he was like, when you get married, make sure he takes your last name. Don't take his last name. And I'm like, okay, Tio, for sure. He was like, you want him to have your last name? And I'm like, all right, Tio. And then my Tio will be like, oh, well, let's go to court and, like, let's change. You can have my last name. He's like, no, yours will stay the same. And it's so playful like that. So I really love my Uncle Joe. He's just everything to me.
Moving on to our next question. This goes for our guest first. Do you ever address with your guy friends this, like, toxic masculinity? If so, how do you carry that conversation?
Not toxic masculinity per se. We don't be like, hey dog, how toxic you been this week, you know? But like, definitely
behaviors, maybe.
I think
toxic.
I know me and my friends personally, we all call each other out on our shit. So it's like, my friend might tell me he's doing something in particular, and I'm like, yeah, that's some dog ass shit. You need to switch that up, dog. You know, I can't. And obviously nothing too major, like, nothing crazy. It's all in jokes at, you know, once it gets to like an unhealthy point, I'm pretty sure most men would step up. I know there's a lot of, like, you know, bro code in the sense of, like, you know, just bros before the hoes, and, like, sure, like, don't, you know, if that's your friend group, hey, that's y'all. But I know me and my niggas, we go ahead and we keep each other accountable of those type of things. You know what I'm saying? And it's just, I don't know, you kind of look like a clown in a way, especially in, like, over here, you know. Back where I grew up, it was a little easier to get away with because it was, like, bigger space. But over here, everything is so small, like, shit gets around quick, like, town to town, city to city. Like, it's ridiculous. So you'll really look like a clown, like, and people will know. And like, I think the biggest thing I learned back in high school when I was doing my own bullshit is that women talk. And I don't know why I didn't think about that, because obviously men talk, but it's like women really talk. Y'all really be giving details. And so, you know what I'm saying? But it's like, I mean, I don't know, to answer that question in particular, like, long story short, I guess, yes, we do address it. Maybe not as seriously as we should all the time, but yes, it is addressed.
That's it. That's good to know, actually. Because I don't, like, you know, I'm not a dude, so I don't have my dude group, but I don't know how you would go about like addressing that. Because like for women, and I don't want to like bunch us up into one single group, but we talk about this, you know, we talk about our traumas, we talk about what's going on. And so we address things like that, but you know, the dynamics between men are very different. That knowledge that I wouldn't know. So I always wonder, like, how do you go about doing that? And if that kind of thing does happen. And I obviously like never feel comfortable asking dudes that, because it's like, oh, she's gonna start, like, that's what I think in my head, like, oh, of course this girl's gonna start, like, this is what she dedicates her life to. So I'm like, I'm not gonna ask until one day I can ask. Yeah. So that was really informative, actually.
I think that's good. And most importantly, holding your male friends or guy friends accountable.
Yeah.
So if you hear and they're venting to you or sharing with you some information, like, hey, like, you know, an example, maybe I have to like trigger warn people, but like if you were to, you know, if your friend shares with you, like, yeah, man, she was just getting too loud and obnoxious. And so, yeah, I smacked her around a little bit. So she calmed the hell down.
Oh, no, yeah, no.
And it's just like, you did, and this happens a lot, especially what's shown on Hollywood and media is that the guy friends like, oh, that's not my relationship, that's none of my business, and they step out, which, okay, valid. I would be like, oof, but it's like, that's your friend. And that's one thing that my dad also taught me is that you hang out with shit, you smell like shit. So the same thing, and I have noticed that too in like Nigel's specific like friend group, not to like out you or anything, but like the men he hangs around with are solid men, which is a phrase my dad would say a lot, is like, is the man solid? Like, is he sketch? Is he off? Is he weird? Like, does he not like stay true to his word? And so that thing of like holding your male friends accountable is like a true man, right? A healthy one, a real one would say, you know what, man, like, we probably can't be friends, or I'll probably have to report you if you ever put your hands on her again. Like, that is not okay. That's not a good, healthy way to say, like, you need to cut it out. Y'all need therapy or something, right? Some type of response. But for a man to just like walk out and know that a woman's being smacked around or hit or just
like, when it's in the moment right there, it's like, damn, what am I really about to do? And it's a fight or flight response. And like I said, if you're not true to yourself and true to who you want to be in those moments, even though you might be scared or whatever, I think that also like makes a man like, bro, there's plenty of times when I'm walking, you know, I'm doing something in particular and I'm a little bit fearful, but I know like I believe in my hands. Like, Mireya knows I got hands, so it's no.
You make it sound like you hit me.
No, well, all right. That sounds. No. She's witnessed these hands towards other people.
Someone else.
Towards other people, not never in her direction. But on top of that, it's more of like where it's like when people are near me, women in particular, there is that sense and that need to protect those around. And even if you're not sure what to do in those situations, stepping up and doing something is always better than doing nothing.
Or calling for help. It doesn't mean you have to take it into your own hands, because because we can't tell all men like you need to stand up and just man up, and like you said, not all men can or are willing to fight. And it's like, okay, you don't have to take it into your own hands, but you do need to call for help and seek outside.
Yeah.